Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's FileMaker webinar. My name is Mike Crook. I'm the Marketing Manager here for FileMaker in the UK, and I have with me Javier Sanchez, our Solutions Consultant.
Good afternoon.
So in a few short moments, Javier is going to be getting going with today's webinar, which is an introduction to FileMaker Server. Before he does that, I'd just like to say, if you have any questions during the course of the session, feel free to ask them using the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those as we can towards the end. That's all you'll hear from me until that questions section. So without any further ado, I will hand over to Javier to get started. Javier.
Thanks, Mike. Let me quickly show them the previous slide, how to ask a question from the control panel. So you have these questions tab on the middle, and I will handle the questions later. So we're going to start talking today about the story of a solution. So you and up to 5 other FileMaker Pro users can access the same database file simultaneously if you're sharing with FileMaker Pro. That would be the initial phase, for example, of a project where you're starting to create a solution. So you're using FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Pro Advanced in your desktop computer, which could be Mac or Windows operating system. And then you will share it, and other 5 colleagues could access to the same data, the same custom app from FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Go on their laptops or iOS devices. So this is what we call peer-to-peer sharing. So FileMaker Pro or Go and up to 5 users. Let me quickly show you how this works. So I've got a file here called customers database. And let me just close my Pro, because I was probably using it before. Okay, so this is the file here. And I'm currently just using it on my laptop, but I'm not sharing it. If I want people within my network to access this same file, I need to go to File, Sharing, and Share with FileMaker clients. Now I need to turn network sharing on. Just clicking on, and I will need to specify which users do I want to be able to connect. So if I'm creating users and passwords, I can specify a set of users, or I just share to everybody, and then all users will be able to access my file. Click OK, and then I'm going to show you my iPad here, because my iPad is hopefully on the same network. Let me double check. Apple Wi-Fi, yeah. If I go to FileMaker Go on my iPad, which is free on the App Store, and I find on the third button here on the bottom, my hosts, then top left, you can find your favorites or the ones that are in your network. You can see that we have more than one server on this network, but my MacBook is the first one, Javier's MacBook Pro. So now I can see the file that I'm sharing, customers, and I can access it, and I can start working with it. For example, I can change a record. So I'm going to delete the word park from this record, press somewhere else on the screen, and it has gone, it has disappeared, park from here. So everything is connected. Same wise, if I change something on my desktop, so I add back from my Mac the word park here, and I commit the record, I click somewhere else, it will refresh on the iPad. So I'm directly connected to the same file. Okay. Now, if you need more reliable, high-performance access to your data, and that doesn't limit the number of simultaneous users, then you need a different approach, a different solution for this. You need a FileMaker server. So let me just quickly start my server from the terminal. So I got a server installed here. I'm going to need to close also FileMaker Pro and FileMaker Go. Close the file everywhere. And I'm going to launch my server. At this point, you will use a server machine and you will install your FileMaker server. I'm just going to start mine, which I had to stop to show you the Pro sharing. And let's talk a bit about this. So what is FileMaker Server? It's a software for managing and sharing database solutions, custom apps that can be accessed from FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go, and different technology, which is called FileMaker WebDirect, which I'll be talking about later on. So all those clients can access files hosted on a FileMaker server. This is a software installed on a computer, and that computer we normally refer to as the server. So one thing is the software. Our software is called FileMaker Server. Then you have the operating system, which has to be also an operating system for a hardware server. And then you have the third bit, which is the hardware. So normally we recommend to use hardware for server, an operating system for a server, and then FileMaker Server on it. So FileMaker Server is not just one piece of software. It's actually composed of several components that work together in order to manage and share your custom apps. Let's have a quick look at these components. So first, the admin console allows us to configure and manage the FileMaker server from a web browser. It's the one I accessed right now to start my server, and I'll be showing you a bit more on it later. The next component is the database server, and it's the component that does all the sharing and makes available your solutions, your custom apps to everybody on the network. If you want to publish that data to the web browser, the web publishing engine will talk to the database server in order to take the information and transform it into a format understandable by a web browser. The web server interacts with the web publishing engine in order to deliver that transformed set of data to the end user, which is already on a web format. To communicate with the web publishing engine, it uses a piece of software that we call the web server module. And finally, if you wish to be able to use PHP to display data on the web browser, the PHP API needs to be installed on the web server to be able to understand your PHP code. This API, you can find it in our web. So this is the platform. So how FileMaker Server fits in the FileMaker platform? There's a full line of products in the FileMaker platform that give you all the tools you need to create custom business solutions, custom business apps that go everywhere your business takes you. Create your custom apps with FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Pro Advanced. This is also how you run your solutions on Mac and Windows, and how you can share with very small teams, as I showed you earlier. So for teams of 5 or more people, you will have to use FileMaker Server to share your database. To run your custom apps on iPad and iPhone, you'll use the free FileMaker Go app available from the App Store. And then to access your custom app via a web browser, you'll use the new FileMaker WebDirect technology that is available as part of FileMaker Server. Or you can also use custom web publishing to create PHP frontends and then access your backend FileMaker data. So probably the question now is, why do I need to FileMaker Server if maybe I have a small team and I'm not sure if I actually need server? So the question here is, have you ever asked yourself any of the questions you can see here? So for example, do you ever want or need to know who's accessing data and when? Have you had the need to remotely monitor and administer databases? Would you like your data to be securely stored and transmitted, the transmitted data to be secure as well? Another question, what about storing your data on a centralized computer and having in place automatic backups? Perhaps the need is to quickly deploy interactive custom apps to the web. You've been asking yourself about how to do any of these things, and you probably have. Then the answer is yes, you need a FileMaker server. So now, coming back to our previous story, after deploying my first customer solution, my custom app to the iOS, I've seen this has helped my team, and now I'm thinking on creating other custom apps. Perhaps an employee profile one to be used by HR, for example, or given my actual setup. So I will need to think how to do it because I don't want to be sharing from my laptop so many files. That could be a problem for me. It would mean having multiple files opened and then everybody's going to be depending on me. And what about the security? If I'm creating a specific file for HR, I want only HR people accessing my new custom app. Therefore, I will want to create a set of users and passwords, But actually, not only creating them, I would like to know who's logging in the file and to be sure that the right people is logging to the file. That's why I will use a server for this. Plus, imagine this, if I'm sharing from my laptop and I go, let's say, to have a coffee somewhere, and my laptop goes to sleep, what will happen with everybody that is connected to the file? Obviously, they will get disconnected. Also, if one day, I don't know, I have to go early because I have a doctor's appointment, I will need to leave the laptop on the office. Otherwise, everybody's going to get disconnected and I'm going to stop production. So let's see how this will work on a FileMaker server. Let me show you a bit on FileMaker server now. So first, we're going to analyze this admin console. So to log in on the admin console, you just need to write the IP of the server. In this case, I'm using a local server. This port number, 16001. Just let me delete this, and you'll see the main welcome screen. So you get this welcome screen, and you see things like, for example, the version, the current installed version of your server. So it's telling me that it's a new available version. So probably I'm going to just upgrade my server after this webinar. And from this button, I can start the admin console straight away. Now I need my username and password for my FileMaker server, which I recommend you to use a secure one. Obviously, this is a demo, so I'm using a test admin account. As you can see, I just press on this switch on the top right, and this is the switch to start and stop components. So I'm starting my database server with this. I could stop and start different other components like the web server and the web publishing engine, or even the ODBC, JDBC capabilities. And from a first glance, you can see if there are clients connected from Pro and Go and which databases are hosted on my server. Okay, also how many schedules that we will see later, backup schedules, are currently enabled. The next tab I can go to is the activity tab, where I can see the list of the database I have uploaded to my server and the clients. If I had any connected client, I would see it here. We'll see the schedules later. I'm more interested now in show you statistics. So you can see server statistics, and if you press on this button, you can enable which ones you want to track. Like for example, if I'm having problems with the speed of the connections, I may want to see statistics on my network connections to see if I have any network issue, or maybe I want to enable a statistic on the in and out time and see if my disk is fast enough. So I can enable these statistics and I can see graphs according to that. Also, I could enable client statistics as well. I'll log them. If I click here, it will log the client statistics. Okay, I can pause and resume that. Apart from that, I have a log viewer, and the log viewer gives me further details on the usage of my server and my database. So you can see how I can see here, and I can filter by date, who's opened the database. For example, this server database, the FM server sample file was open when I started the server, so all my files were opened by the server. You can see if I scroll down a bit, if the SSL encryption is disabled or enabled. And you can see things like, as for example, who logged in to the server. So if the admin or which person logged in on the server. You can see, for example, here on the top, administrator disconnected from the admin console. Okay, all that information, you can get it, and you can filter your logs if you want as well. So what about the scaling? One other thing that we didn't cover is scaling. Is how will my business? So the question is, how will my business be impacted if my customer can't grow with us? I need to think about that. So even if I start with a small group, if I want to be able to scale and grow, I need to be able to share my data with more than 5 users. FileMaker Server allows me to share with hundreds of concurrent users up to 125 solutions at the same time. And having all those users accessing the custom app from desktop, mobile, and web browsers, all at the same time. Also, another concern is the security. It is really important to secure your business data, and FileMaker Server allows us to use external authentication. So if you have Active Directory or Open Directory, you'll be able to integrate your custom app with them. Therefore, you won't need to manage two sets of accounts. You can just manage your Open Directory accounts and then tie them into the FileMaker account management. So you will have, if someone loses the password, for example, you will rest the one password only, and it will work seamlessly on both platforms. It also supports FileMaker Server SSL encryption to secure your data over the wire, and it contains a visual security indicator to let you to quickly know if the data is traveling securely over the network or not. So let me show you where to find this. So going back again to the admin console, if you go to General Settings, the database server, you got this tab, the third one from the top, called Security. And here you have a checkbox under SSL connections where you can enable SSL connections. And if you do it like I've done now, it's asking me to restart the server so the change is applied. So in order to get SSL enabled, even if I check the box and I save, even if I tick this box and I save, I need to go to my main window again. So you need to close this message, top right, go to status, and I will need to stop my server, let know all the clients, wait until the server has stopped. If I have any open client, I will need to close it. So I will need everybody to be disconnected before doing this. Also, I can stop it from the admin console with the command fms admin stop server. It will ask me for confirmation, and it's not being able to stop it because I already stopped it from here. Okay, and then restart it. So if I've stopped the server with SSL enabled now, and my clients should be able now to securely connect to it. As you can see, it takes a few seconds. I can try to force it with my comment, but the service is already running. It's just not refreshing the page. So let me refresh it. Bear with me. Okay, now it's on. So if I come back to the iPad now and I open FileMaker Go again, look for my server, which now you can see that is different. It's not my laptop anymore. It's my FileMaker server. Now let me connect to the file. For example, the FMS server sample file. Do you see what happens on the top left? I see this log, which means that my server now is using SSL. Well, this SSL certificate that comes with FileMaker Server by default, the one I'm using right now, it's only intended for testing purposes. So if this file was now in production and I wanted to use security, SSL security, we don't recommend to use our own certificate. We recommend some certificates. You can find them on our website, a list of supported SSL certificates from different authorities. So any of these you can buy and install in your server, and this will ensure your data is secure across the wire. For testing your database, when you are creating it, yeah, you can use our SSL certificate because that's our intention. That's why we created that certificate. Okay. Right, back to the keynote. Let's talk about backups. So not using a FileMaker server, we've seen that we are responsible of sharing the file and keeping it open, and be careful if we're going to have a coffee or we need to leave the office early because we need to tell everybody about that and they may get disconnected. That is also true for the backups. We will need to ask everybody to log out from the file if we want to back up that file. And this is because we want to protect it from being corrupted. So if we copy and paste a file that is being accessed by someone somewhere else, we can get data corruption. So if we don't have a FileMaker server, and you have now to make a backup of the file, first of all, you will need to ensure that everybody is disconnected. and then copy manually the file and backing it up on an external storage, for example, or a USB memory, whatever you want to have it. So every time I talk to customers like you about FileMaker and the server and the backups, I tell you, ask yourself these questions. How much of your data are you prepared to lose, first of all? And the second is, how much is your data worth for you? Because that's very important. And to be honest, not many people really remember because you're too busy doing your actual work to do the backups. So you may do backups, but rarely you will do a backup weekly. So how much data from how long are you prepared to lose, and how important it is for you? How much is worth for your business, really? FileMaker Server allows us to create different backup schedules, and it's so easy to manage. Let me show you how you would do that. So coming back to my admin console here, we have this tab on the left-hand side menus called schedules. And by default, the good news is when you install for the first time the server, it comes with a schedule already created for you. So some backups are already happening, whether you know it or not, locally in your hard disk. But you can always come to the top right using these menus buttons here and create a new schedule. We're gonna talk today about backup schedules only, but as you know more and more on FileMaker and FileMaker Server, you'll see that there are also other schedules you can create and are very, very useful. Like, for example, a script, system level scripts, and the script sequences that are very useful really when using FileMaker Server on live systems, on production systems. The main two I wanted to talk to you about today is the backup databases and also the last one, verified databases. Not only you want to create backups of your files, but also it's a good idea, at least once a week, once every 2 weeks, to run a schedule to verify those backups on those live databases, so you know that that data is not corrupted and it's okay to work with it. So if I want to create a new backup schedule, I will select the first one now, go to next, and then I can select if I want to do a backup of all the databases or just a particular one I'm interested in, or just a folder, and I can select which folder. So in this case, I want all databases, and we're gonna create a monthly backup schedule now. So maximum number of backups to keep. How many? 1, 2. That means that once the schedule runs for the first time, FileMaker will keep the number of backups here from the previous months. So I can say 2, and I have the backup from this month and the backup from the previous month. The following month, it will delete the oldest backup. Right? That's what it means. I can also verify the backup integrity straight away after it's done. I would recommend you to tick this box always. And then I get to configure the schedule. So if it's a daily backup, once only, or every n days, for a monthly one, I will need to select every n days, and my n would be, so the start date, for example, today, end date, or every, here on the bottom, I will change the number to 30 to make it 30, to make it a month. Okay. In this case, I don't need to set the end date because it's going to be every 30, and it can take a while, and I want the backup to finish anyway. Finally, you can create a name for your schedule so you can recognize it, monthly webinar, November. And then you can select an admin to get a notification, but bear in mind you need to set up first your SMTP settings in order for this to work. We'll take a look in a second about that. Then next, you'll see a summary of your schedule, and then you can finish it, and it will be already created. Here it is and active. It's enabled here. Okay. So that thing that you saw about the SMTP, you have different tabs here: database server, general settings, and if you go to email notifications, you will need to, if you want to get notifications from the server, you need to give the SMTP from your organization details here. Set them up so it works. Also, if it supports different protocols, like for example, SSL, so you need to set up exactly as you have your SMTP set up on your network. Okay. Now that we're here on general settings, let me just quickly show you the different tabs. So you have the admin console tab where you can enable access restrictions. So only the IPs listed can access your admin console to add extra security to your server. You can select whether or not you want your FileMaker server to start automatically when you restart the server. You can manage here ODBC and JDBC as well. You can also create administrator groups, so who is allowed to manage your server. You can create different groups and with different permissions. Maybe you want a group for the backup so they can create schedules, but they cannot just close or open databases. And also you can manage, this is important, your connections here. So when you're using a FileMaker server and you want to access via FileMaker Go or FileMaker WebDirect from the web, you will be using connections. And you can buy them on packs of 5. I have the total connections here. But in case you have, for example, 5 and you need more people to access your server concurrently, you would use this button to buy more connections directly, or you can actually call sales, and our sales team will help you with that. Okay. Also, let me show you a bit on the database server tab. So you can limit the number of Pro connections. So if you want to ensure that no more than 100 people are accessing your server at the same time, you can set that number up here. How many scripts are running on your server as well at the same time. How many databases you want to allow to have hosted on your server. This is useful when you are allowing normal users, to create databases and uploading them to the server, because you don't want sometimes to have 125 databases that you don't have control over, and maybe they can affect the performance if they are not implemented correctly. So sometimes you want just to limit in order to allow you time to review those files before giving more allowance on the server to host more databases. Also security, we've seen that before, and you can change here the client authentication to add external server accounts. You can change your folders where the files are and where your database backups are as well. And you can change settings on plugins that install on your server, for example. You can set up your directory service settings as well here. Okay. Right. So I've talked a few times about FileMaker WebDirect, but I haven't said much yet. So let's talk about FileMaker WebDirect, because it's quite a powerful and beautiful technology we brought to FileMaker Server. It's a great technology that comes with the server, allowing you to deploy desktop-style solutions in a web browser without having to learn any web programming or have previous web developing skills. It also brings all the fantastic features of FileMaker Pro to the web, like live data updates and solution changes without the need of reinstalling any software or having to download any new data or link to your computer. I'll show you a quick demonstration with our webinar file. But first, let's get back to our original story. So let's get back to our file. And I'm going to change the name because I've seen I have another file called the same in the server. So customers webinar. And I'm opening this file. And what I'm going to do is because now I bought a server, I want to upload this file to my server. So I'm going to share it and upload it to a FileMaker server. You see, this is a different way to do it because I have an icon here, a shortcut. I can go as before, as previously I did, go into File, Sharing, Upload to FileMaker Server. Same. I'm not going to set a password here for the file because this is a demo, but if you're uploading a file to a server, I strongly recommend you at least to set a password to the admin account. Okay. So now I'm going to find my local host, which is my FileMaker server. Here it is. And I'm going to use my server account, the one I use to log into the admin console to upload my file to the server. As you have seen on the admin console I was showing you a few seconds ago, you can create admin groups for the server. So you can have a group for people that can upload files to the server but cannot access anything else, for example. Okay, so the file now is on my server. I can tell you because I see next to the name my server name. Okay, easy to see. Now, let's say I want to share this using the web. So now, because this is on the server, if I go back to my iPad and I go back to the launch center, to the host, and I connect to my FileMaker server, I'm going to be able to see that file, customers webinar here. And I can already work with this file. But what about the users that want to access the file from a web browser? So basically, I just need to go to File, Sharing, and configure the file for FileMaker WebDirect. I can specify a set of users as before, or just select all users. Before doing this, let me just cancel it and show you how to get to the admin console. Sorry, to the launch page of FileMaker WebDirect. So I'm going to use my local host, and here instead of a port number, we're going to use FMI WebD. So then from here, I'm going to be able to see the files, and this is because it's warning me that the standard certificate is in use on this server because I enable it. Okay, so I can use, for example, a different server instead. Let's use, for example, data therapy thing I have here, my favorites. No, this is not. One from our partners. So this server from our partners, data therapy, they do hosting. So let me just use theirs instead. So I'm going to go back to the file, not this one, but the local one. Customers webinar, use the local version and host it somewhere else. So again, upload to FileMaker server, but now I'm going to use their server instead. And I'm going to hope I remember the username. I think I do. Yeah. So until now, I was working locally on my server on my Mac. What I'm doing now is I'm using a server which is hosted in London. I think it's in London. At least data therapy are in London. I'm not sure where they have the servers, but somewhere in the UK, surely. So now I'm connected to that server. I'm going to do the same, enable WebDirect sharing to the file. And I'm going to go to that FileMaker WebDirect launch start page, by typing here FMI WebD. And these are all the files that are being shared now using FileMaker WebDirect. So I'm accessing through my browser to all these files now. So mine is customers webinar, so we should be looking at the C. Here it is. And if I change something here on the desktop, sorry, on the web, it will change on the desktop. And the same way, if I change, for example, in my FileMaker Pro Advanced, the logo, and I move it to the next to the name, for example, and I save the changes here, without the need of editing anything, it will change on my web browser. And I haven't done anything on HTML coding or something like that. So I'm basically able to connect from different devices at the same time to the same data, thanks to FileMaker Server. Okay. So what have we seen today? The story of a solution. We've been designing in FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Pro Advanced, and then sharing in a small group to test the solution, but then I needed more people to access. So now I deploy and manage my solutions using FileMaker Server, which allows me to run the custom apps on mobile devices like iPhones, iPads, or iPods using our native client FileMaker Go, but also I can now access solutions from Windows or Mac using a web browser thanks to FileMaker WebDirect. And also I can use tablets to access via Chrome, Safari, or Internet Explorer my custom apps. So now my solutions are easy to manage, scale with my organization. My data is secure using encryption, SSL, and it's protected with automatic scheduled backups. And it's very easily, as you can see, deployed as a fully interactive web application. Okay, easy to manage, scales. So you can see on this quick chart the benefits of using FileMaker Server that you can have using peer-to-peer sharing. So the statistics and logs, the secure network traffic, the easy backup, all those that we have seen, plus more than 5 users connecting to your same data. And you wouldn't have the ability to use FileMaker WebDirect if you are using peer-to-peer. You would need FileMaker Server for it. Now, what do I need technically to make this happen? So if we're talking about operating systems supported, Yosemite, Mavericks, El Capitan should be here now because now we have FileMaker Server v4, so we support El Capitan as well. Windows Server 2012 R2 for Windows systems, 64-bit, and Server 2008 R2 as well. That's for the operating system. Looking at the hardware requirements, you need to keep that in mind as well. The minimum requirements is a dual-core CPU with 4 GB at least of RAM and a 80 GB or more hard drive. I always suggest the recommended settings, so at least a 4-core with 8 GB of RAM and a hard drive of 80 GB or more. That would be my recommendation. Right, so this is all I wanted to talk to you about FileMaker Server. If you have questions, remember to go always and look in the FileMaker community. Now I'm going to handle your questions today, but in the future, if you want to hear from expert people like you that are deploying solutions every time with different settings, you can use our FileMaker community. Not only you're going to find experts that can help you on the forums, but also there are a bunch of documents, technical brief documents that you can use. So white papers, how-to articles that can be really, really handy for you. You can also find some resources in our website, like for example, the server guide that talks about deployment, our getting started guide as well in product documentation, general hardware considerations for FileMaker Server as the ones I was showing you before that may change in the future. So it's good to keep checking on our website. For example, now we're introducing support to El Capitan. And also we have a FileMaker 14 WebDirect guide. If you want to know about other people using our platform to create custom apps, you can go to our FileMaker.com/solutions/customers page, so you can see other customer solutions there, customer stories. You can see the following seminars in our web seminars, in our link /support/webinars, so our website /support/webinars. And then you also have some training resources, and I want to talk specifically about 2 of them, the FileMaker Training Series Basics and the FileMaker Training Series Advanced. The FileMaker Training Series Basics is free. You can find it in our website, and it's an iBook. Plus, on these ones, on the basics, we're running a track of webinars, 6 webinars, presented by me or Kieran Saunders, and you can follow them with the book. They are very helpful because they are inspired on the book, so you can learn at your own pace, or you can also watch the recordings. And then the advanced contains chapters on deployment, for example, like we were talking today. It's got also relationships. It's the one I used the first time and to learn FileMaker, but also every time I get certified on FileMaker, I reread this book because it's full of very useful information for you. Okay, and it's quite inexpensive. It's less than £20.